A few days ago, for the benefit of the public forum, I got to record my third podcast with Mr. Christian Lang. Christian Lang is a German breeder of German Shepherd dogs, kennel name Zumkelbengus. He is a Coremeister and a breed judge as well, and he just has had the great honor of being appointed as the working females judge for the German Sieger Show. This is a big responsibility for him because he must decide the future direction of the females in the breed, the future mothers, so on and so forth. We had a spirited conversation about a slew of topics, and please share it with all your friends. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe and all that jazz. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're joined by Mr. Christian Lang. Mr. Lang has been selected to judge the working females at the German Sieger Show, or now the World Sieger Show in 2024. This is a gigantic honor to anybody and everybody who knows about the German Shepherd breed, and as well a giant responsibility for you, Mr. Lang, as you must select the next generation of top females in our breed and the future mothers of the breed. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you also for having me again in this conversation.
It's an absolute pleasure as always, sir. I would like to know your thoughts about the whole process and the whole procedure. Could you tell me how you were picked? Is it just a phone call that you say, hey, Christian, you're going to be judging the working females, or is there an actual drawn out process where there's a committee just to kind of, pull the cover of how the sausage is made behind the scenes?
Well, actually, I got phone calls from different other peoples before I was informed by the SV board.
That's great. So there's an actual committee that comes together to pick the judges for the Sieger Show the following year. Normally, the process happens at the end of the previous year, so it must have happened at the end of 2023 that the committee comes together and picks the judges for the Sieger Show, or how does it happen?
Yeah, it's the decision of the SV board. It was made at the beginning of December. The last board meeting is usually the time to pick the judges for the next year's main events like Siegerprüfung and also the Sieger Show. And the board, how the board decides, I don't know. But I guess that's that the breed warden or the president, Mrs. President, makes some suggestions who should judge the which classes, and the board decides, okay, this is a good suggestion or a good choice or not.
In my personal opinion, I think they did really well when they picked you, because not only are you an active judge, of course, in the breed, and from the newer generation, let's say, but you're also an active breeder who breeds infrequently, of course, because, of personal restrictions or time constraints, but you are actively pursuing your mother line for many, many generations now, and you're still sticking with that mother line and having very good success with it.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. That's something I'm really happy about, and I'm also proud about, to follow the line and to work in the breed. It's not only to judge, but to stay in the basis. That means facing the problems when you raise puppies to a senior age, if everything works out or not. It's mostly theory if you judge a class, but if you stick to the part of breeding, raising, and training, then you also know about what's the work behind.
So with that in mind, I would like to have your opinion on, of course, it's a horse that we've beaten to death many times, but I would still, for the newer viewership or the people, paying more attention, closer attention now, since you're judging the main class, what for you is the ideal German Shepherd?
The first thing a German Shepherd needs to have is expression. It doesn't always matter if every part in anatomy is perfect, as long as the expression is what we expect from a German Shepherd. When you walk with your dogs outside and you meet people who have nothing to do with dogs, and they say, "Ooh, what a nice dog, what a beautiful German Shepherd dog," then you know that most of what you are doing is okay. Because that's the main thing, that the breed stays within the public and that the public enjoys what we have. That was something we probably lost focus on. With the over-exaggeration, we pushed forward something we lost focus on, that the public enjoys seeing German Shepherds, because at a certain point, the public is not happy how they look. And that's something we need to get back to former stages.
So continuing from that point, we're talking about the public. When you're out and about, the first thing you always hear, when they're seeing the dog coming from front, what a beautiful dog it is. And then the next sentence in the same breath you hear, "Oh, but they've got bad hips. Sorry, but your dog have bad hips. I'm sorry for your dog. It has bad hips." And the dog might have perfect hip structure or perfect orthopedics, but it's just so built into the psyche of the people or the public zeitgeist that the temperament suffers and the health suffers in the breed. So how would you safeguard that with our winner class?
Well, especially when it comes to the top classes, or the top dogs that are shown in the World Championship show and the Bundesliga Zuchtschau in Germany, we need to find dogs that fit in the anatomy we want to, but also fit in the view of the people outside. The extremely sloping top lines, the extremely angulated backhand, we need get rid of that, because that's what the people outside think this is proven for bad health. And if we don't work on this, we can't get the public back on our side.
And how do you balance breeding to the breed standard or judging to the breed standard, and then seeing these trends in the ring where you see these dogs with these over-exaggerated movements? Let's say, just compare, for instance, a blast from the past. We had Iso Bergmanshoff. Now it keeps coming up over, or Dingo from Hausgero. And the videos keep coming up how normal these dogs moved and how the back was always firm. Compared them to, let's say, a more modern Seeger, let's say Gary Hunegrab, for instance. He was a very popular father. He was a very popular sire. I bred to him myself a few years back, maybe like around 7-8 years ago. How would you basically talk about where we were with Dingo Hausgero and Iso Bergmanshoff, which were also German Shepherds, which looked like normal German Shepherds when they were standing? Even in their older ages, advanced ages, they were active, normal dogs, compared to one of our newer Seegers or newer VA dogs. And where did we lose the path?
This is an interesting question. Well, the two dogs you pointed out, Dingo Hausgero, Iso Bergmanshoff, both were World Seegers. Both were
Yes,
winners in the working class at the Seeger show. Both had very few good progeny.
Sure.
At that time, especially with Iso Bergmanshoff, at that time we already had dogs in the breed with some exaggeration, but they did produce overall, they did produce more offspring that could also be placed in the top groups. I guess it was not a problem that ISO or Dingo did not get high quality females. They also got them. But in the following generation, you need to see if the let's say the normal parts will stay normal or will get worse, or will the good parts still stand out? And probably that what was happening. I often see those videos from Dingo, and for me personally, I cannot agree that this is the overall perfect movement of a dog.
Sure.
It's not, but that's just my opinion. ISO,
Sure.
he also had fantastic movement. He also had a good family, but nothing came after it. So you never know. We will have to face that with different males. Yeah, it's
Absolutely
not the thing that you can't explain it. But at that time, when ISO was in the Sieger, we had already it was a Quantum Arminius son, ISO. And at that time, with Quantum Arminius, we had several dogs with more influence on the breed. Odin Tannenmeise, with his offspring, Zamp and Jack Noricum. And by all respect to Hermann Martin's choice to pick Jack Noricum, but Jack was definitely one of the first dogs with that really curvy back.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of influence in the breed. So maybe that where all started. I don't know. I'm not in the position to blame anybody or any decision.
I'm also not talking about the egg or the chicken, who came first, the egg or the chicken, the curved back came first or this came first. I'm just saying we got somehow from these dogs over here from Ding. So when I meant Dingo Hausgero, I didn't mean he was perfect by any means. Of course, we can talk about the flat croup and all that stuff, and we can talk about his Unterbrust, his underchest and all these things. But he was, when you look at him, it's a normal dog. He can stand on his all four legs, and he is in the winners group. I'm not saying that he must be the Sieger and there was not a dog that was technically maybe a better expression or something like that, or just, these little nuances that were better. Even with ISO, I'm sure you can give it to Mark Hausbeck when you want. You can make Mark Sieger. The movement fits. It's like, it looks like a fantastic dog. Maybe the temperament wasn't as good as ISO, but
no, not at all.
Little known fact, people don't know about these things when they're just looking at photos. So maybe he was not the strongest dog, but when we're looking at just anatomy and we're looking at offspring and the influence in the future, Mark Hausbeck could have easily been the Sieger, depending on the day or what the judge ate for breakfast. Maybe if he had 3 eggs, Mark was the Sieger. Who knows? But this is just speculation. I'm just saying we had these types of dogs at one point, and we're going down memory lane or through nostalgia, and we're reminiscing that we had a different type of dog at that time, and we're saying the public perception of our dogs is not so positive at the moment, and we are where we are at this point, and we have dogs what we have at this point. Where do you think is the way back? Essentially, is what I'm asking.
Well, the way back is practically the same we did a couple of years ago with the oversized dogs.
Yes.
Just being consequent when it comes to that part. When it comes to the extremely sloping top lines, when it comes to extremely overangulation, when it comes to instability in the backhand. We need to be consequent, and this is a thing of the judges first. It's the judges' decision to place these dogs far behind, and if that is a consequent thing up to the Sieger show, then the breeders will follow, because obviously the market for, let's come back to the size, the market for the big sized dogs was there, but with the decisions of the judges, the breed had to follow, and this will also happen with the overangulation, with the curvy backs. It will follow. Of course, changing anatomy is the most difficult part when it comes to breeding, but it's not a sprint race we are doing, it's a marathon. And but if we don't start now, it will never change.
So my question, to just offer a slight pushback on the size point, we made an asterisk and said 66 centimeter dogs are okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now when you bring, let's say, a dog that is 61 centimeters, of course, we had a conversation about this in the past off the air. We have a 61 centimeter male, perfect medium-sized dog, or the smaller size, well within the standard. He's got big bones. He's a masculine head, of course, for his size. He has excellent movement. He has, it's a hypothetical dog. I'm not, saying this dog or that dog, but there's a 61 centimeter dog that is near perfect to the breed standard, or much closer than the 66 centimeter male or a 65.5 centimeter male. Since we added that asterisk and said 66 is okay, sometimes 66.5 is also okay, depending on the person right there. Because it's again, an opinion-based thing. It's an interpretation of the standard for that individual assessing. So now we have a lot of people saying, but 61 centimeters is no male. Well, I see the testicles underneath the dog, and I think the dog fits the breed standard better. And I think this is the mentality that got us in the place to begin with, when we have 62 centimeter females and 67 centimeter males. When we're saying, oh yeah, the male is not enough male. But then you see problems, then these giant dogs have arthritis, they have this, they have that, because we're not talking about longevity. Because as soon as the dogs place high, unfortunately, a lot of them are sold overseas, and they cannot make any more impact in the breed. And they were sort of bred for the certain market that has emerged to buy these large dogs. And when we're looking at our standardized testing that is in the back, that has, of course, changed so much over the years as well. When it was, the initial Schutzhund to what's become an IGP now. And now we're, seeing kind of the folly of our ways and going back and introducing the ZAP and the Wesenbeurteilung to assess the actual qualities of the dog at an earlier age, to understand what's relevant for breeding and what's not, because we want, at the fundamental of it, not just excellent trained dogs, but well-surrounded dogs with good mental faculties that every common person can live with. Where do you think these policies go wrong? And don't you think there's a little backhandedness to it, that when the 61 centimeter male is not considered good enough, even though it might be, again, hypothetically, as per the standard, as opposed to a giant male, like a 66 centimeter male is like almost half a foot. Like, there's a significant difference when you see them moving. Of course, the 66 centimeter male has longer legs compared to the 61 centimeter male. I'm not talking about proportions, just physically longer legs, so he will be able to cover more distance in that short period of time. But this dog will fall apart. There's no debate about it. A person that is almost 7 feet tall will break down quickly as compared to an average sized human being. It's just simple physics and gravity. That's how it works.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's why Great Danes live to 8 years and not 15 years.
Mm-hmm. I know what you, I get your point. Yeah. The thing is, we need to split the discussion between rating and placement.
Yes.
Rating, when it comes to show rating, we have the highest possible rating on a regular show is a V rating.
Correct.
And the basic is a G rating.
Sure.
And
we can even go down to M, Mangelhaft.
Yeah, but if it's a rating,
I've never met an M dog in my life, though. By the way, just to put that up there.
Okay. If we I meant the rating that qualify a dog for breeding.
Yes, none, of course.
And when it comes to that, every judge and every breeder needs to the first thing he needs to do is to look if the dog is good enough for the highest possible rating.
Absolutely.
The dog you described, the ideal under medium sized dog,
yes,
correct proportions, substance, and everything. Of course, this dog will always be highest possibly rated.
Yes.
But when it comes to the competition,
yes,
placement is a different thing.
Sure.
Because placement is a judge's decision.
Absolutely.
Is also what a judge personally likes better. Per se, this is no problem, in my opinion.
Yes.
Of course, he should not make the mistake to say steep upper arm is what I prefer.
So we must adhere to the breed standard first and foremost.
Yeah. So, but to have the personal preference to say I want a male or female with substance and more to the from the size range, more to the upper size range than to the lower size range. I guess this is something that is okay. The only way you could have such a dog, the ideal under medium sized dog, promoted when it comes to placement is the Sieger show. If the guy who is responsible to lead the breed says, this is a dog with so much quality on that certain point, we need to give him the chance that he can produce. This is nothing you can do with a you cannot ask from the regular judges to place this dog in a breed leading way. The breed leading is the Sieger show, and the lead of the breed needs to be done by those who place the dogs there. And here the circle goes around. What we need to do with the other dogs, with the other over exaggerated
exaggerated
the dog with the over exaggerations, we need to get them far up behind than they used to be, and then the people will learn what it means to stick with these dogs.
So to lead on from that question, we spoke about Dingo and Izo not being very successful progenitors for the future generations. They incidentally both came from one of our quote-unquote pillars, Canto Vinhao. We spoke about this in a previous conversation about the pillars of the breed, how accurate or how marketing friendly those terms were. What do you think about the genetic diversity? Of course, the limited genetic diversity, of course, because people stick to, like you mentioned, these dogs were not the best producers. So of course there were other dogs that produced more favorably for what the people were looking at the time, or what was being promoted. Let's say Jack Noricum, Odentown and Maise, all these dogs that were finding favors in breeding, came to a point. Then literally was a statement by a famous individual in our breed who said the future of the breed will only be Jack Noricum and Zamvina Rao. That the next successors of the breed will only come from these two dogs and nobody else. I find that problem, in my opinion, a little bit problematic. That statement a little bit problematic, because now we're completely doing it away with genetic diversity. We're only looking what's in front of us, and we're not looking what's around the corner. So, what is your solution, or what is your hope to cure that, or to mitigate the problem? Because we're not even putting bandages on this at the moment. Telling somebody you cannot do a 3-3, you cannot do closer than a 3-3 breeding, I don't think it's the best solution, because the stuff in the back is so concentrated. Mm-hmm. So if I have a completely outside blood from one side, and then I make like a 2-3 breeding to secure the type with this outside blood, my dog is technically more genetic diversity than the dogs that were bred 3-3 on the same dogs over and over and over again. So technically, they might say that this is, allowed or not allowed in the rules, but we're getting into a deeper and deeper hole, whether we would choose to stick our head in the sand or not about it, with the genetic diversity of our dogs. And we've, of course, spoken at length about this in a previous conversation too. But what would your thoughts be on that?
First of all, we can't turn the wheel back.
Of course.
We had that conversation. There are several bottlenecks we already went through.
Yes.
And we can't turn these pages again. On the other hand, when it comes to breeding, not only German Shepherd dogs per se. When you look at my wife breeds Jack Russell Terrier. When you look at that,
beautiful ones, yes.
And when you look at the origin of the dogs, it's a wolf.
Yes.
How did that
selective breed? Chihuahuas from the wolf.
So it's selection, and
yes, of course.
It's not only a dog thing. It's when people start breeding by making their mind what they want the outcome to be, then it's always the same. When it comes to cows, they should have more milk or they should have more meat. They don't care if they are related. They only care if this combination brings more milk, this combination brings more meat. When it comes to horses, it's the same. They look if horses for jumping, if they are able to be higher, to be faster, to jump higher, and to run faster. When it comes to the fast track, then they need the temperament, they need the speed, and they need to be able to be early enough in the competition to make as much money as the people want to be. So the breeding is always looking from the result. And that's definitely the problem of all. But you cannot, that's something you can't change anymore, in my opinion. What we need to try to do is to at least give the people more possible selection. Like it already started last year with adding dogs to the working class VA group, even if they don't have already a progeny group, but the bloodline is not as popular as the others. So this is something we need to try to establish again, because I remember when I had Magnum. He was the son of Quen, and at that time in the young dog class, there was Godalis Tino, Tyson Köttersbusch, and etc. I was definitely sure that even if I was the third, Magnum was the third best, I would have no chance to be among the first 20, because at that time
the blood is saturated.
Yeah, the judges picked the dogs for the first 20 also by the fathers, not to mix too much. And
yes.
What we end up, I guess, 5 among the first 20 out of Quen.
Yes.
I don't say that it was wrong, but for the diversity of the breed, probably not the best idea.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm not sure if they picked the right ones. That's also, again, my personal opinion, but it is what it is. My question, again, I'll be the devil's advocate. We talked about cow breeding and we talked about horse breeding. So there's certain criteria we're looking for, like you said, tangible ideas that we have, that we need more meat from our beef cattle and we need more milk from our milch cattle. So we are breeding progressively towards that aim, right? We're not necessarily looking for longevity from those animals. They are commodities in our society. Unfortunately or fortunately, it depends, if on whoever's opinion that might be or moral compass that might be. Those animals are commodities. Horses, like we talked about, the race horses. It's the fastest horse that wins the race every single time. Doesn't matter how well he's bred or poorly he's bred. Naturally, the horse with the better training, the horse with the better pedigree is more likely to win than an unknown horse. But we have no such tangibles for our breed because we haven't really changed the breed standard since its inception. Maybe slight modifications. We've dropped more details about the head to give judges more leeway for promoting these apple-shaped heads that have become popular over the few years. That we don't talk about the parallel planes in the heads and we don't talk about the proportionality of the head, so on and so forth. Fine. But we don't have any tangibles that we can say, okay, we cannot say it's the fastest dog. We cannot say it's the dog that gives the most milk, or we cannot say the dog that gives the most beef, for instance. So we are again dependent on opinions of experts, such as yourself, to show us the right way for setting the direction of the breed or the tonality of the breed. And we can, of course, look at the work of the judges themselves as breeders, what they've done. And, you pass that crucible with high flying colors because you've always had normal dogs that have been able to do the work, that lived long years with their family. And of course, the family has continued for so many generations. So it's not, again, I'm just being the devil's advocate. We are dependent on just opinions of judges that have been appointed to do the right thing. But since we've come, like we talked about the bottlenecks, etc., we've come here because some people failed to do their job in the past. They took the mantle of the guardian of the breed and they didn't guard it. And as breeders or as enthusiasts or as connoisseurs of the breed, what hope do we have left that we can, safeguard this breed into the future to make sure we have the right direction going forward? We ignore a gigantic population, and it's like we've got, the spectrum of dogs that exist, from our show dogs all the way to our really extreme working dogs from some bloodlines that you can't even, have in the house. They're just good for one thing. And some sort of show dogs that are so soft, or the quote unquote show lines, that are unfortunately really good for nothing. And they've got bodies that are contorted, they're not balanced. There's a litany of problems on both ends. It's not saying that one is better than the other. There's issues, individual issues on both sides of the spectrum. But we're always talking about breeding the golden middle, a healthy dog that is non-exaggerated, like we spoke earlier, that doesn't matter. The dog must not be too big. It's like we're not concerned with extremely flashy dogs. We're looking for balanced dogs with balanced minds. to progenerate the future of our breed. So would you have any comment on that?
Well, I leave that on your personal opinion, how many faults were made in the past. My hope for the future, clearly, right now, is with the new elected board of the SV. I hope that starting with the judges for the Sieger show, picking them is based on more rational thoughts than on personal interest. And from that, the guidance to lead the breed in a better direction will be there. That's my hope. And
I'm very hopeful for that as well. So the next question I would go on to ask is, when you get dogs, when we're talking about normal dogs, does it have to be a striking red and black dog for the top group? Or could it be a dog that comes from mixed origins, which is normal, which falls on the crucible of the breed standard and covers every single thing in the breed standard? It's a good moving dog. It's a dry and firm dog. It's a dog with the open character. It's an aloof dog, has a lot of drive, can manage that drive, can exist on the spectrum of the type that is a desirable type of a medium-sized athletic dog. Would that dog have a chance to place highly in your group, or is there no chance for that? Or does it just have to be from the high lines, from the established dogs, so to speak?
Yeah, well, I would say if a dog...
Hypothetically, of course, again, hypothetically. All this is just hypotheticals.
Yeah, if a dog like that, not the highlight dog per se.
Yes.
But correct.
Yes.
And if he faces the competition, yes, I'm pretty sure this dog would need to face the competition a little more often.
Sure.
To find his spot or her spot. In my class, it's her spot. To find her spot also in a high placement.
Yes.
Because when you started your judge's career also, from what I heard, congratulations to that, and
thank you,
good luck
thank
for
you,
that.
Sir. Long ways to go still.
But what you already know is when you have the dogs in the individual, you make a list from 1 to 20, how you think that they will be. And of course, some highlight dogs will be, from the first impression,
of course,
be better than the normal dog.
Sure.
So, but the normal dog, if he proves himself in the competition, can work his way up. But definitely such a normal dog, to stay in the head and to prove that he wants or she wants to get up, she needs to be more often in the competition.
Sure.
Because then you can see, okay, she's taken the competition with that highlight female. And if I compare those two, she's better, because she has less faults.
Yes.
And her quality is better than that one. Yes. But this is something let's say, if in the first show, there are 10 females in between those two.
Yes.
You cannot compare them in the competition.
No.
But there will be maybe someday she will move up, and the other one will still be there, and then you can compare them face to face.
Yes.
And then you will see, okay, now the time is right. That's when I started handling dogs and showing dogs by myself, it was the era of Hermann Martin.
Correct.
And it worked that way with him also. He had his lineup, and once he changed his lineup after a show, there was a new lineup. You moved up for the next show. There was no chance that you started again where you at the last show started. Then you moved up, and if you continued that way, you could move up really high.
Sure.
Yeah, but it was never a thing. It never happened in one show that he said, this dog needs to be 10 places higher. No.
Sure.
And of course, he would never admit that he didn't see a dog to be 10 spots higher. But he worked on that, and he gave the people the challenge. And afterwards, if they followed his guidelines, then the dog ended there. That's what I'm saying. Every dog has the chance to prove himself or herself in the competition. But if it doesn't work the first time, it doesn't mean that it has to be the last word.
Sure. So people should not be discouraged, because I remember very clearly there was a dog of course, it was from the Highlands, but it was a sable dog. I think his name was Alex from Herr Brammerwald, and he was in the 60s. And within the same Sieger show, Mr. Meyer was able to move him, I think, to V21 or something. Like he jumped an enormous number of dogs, and I was like, wow, okay, this is like the dog is presenting himself, and the judge has not just completely written off the dog because of his color. The dog is showing himself, and so he has a chance to compete and come forward.
Yep, true. Could we just make a short break, please?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Do you want me to pause it?
Yes, I'll be right back.
Okay. And we're back. So my next question would be, we already spoke about expression, that you're looking for dogs with striking expressions for the class. Would there be any other characteristics that you think that you'd be looking to promote in certain females to bring to the top group? What fills your eye, as they say?
Well, a female, she needs to be correct, of course. And maybe it sounds like a broken record, but we don't need the curvy backs. We don't need the over-angulation. And the stability of the backhand, that's something that really needs to be looked at, and that's something I really want to look at. Otherwise, I guess I would be punished by my wife too. She's a veterinarian, and she keeps yelling at me all the time. How do the dogs look like? Why can't they be placed in top groups from other judges? So I cannot do the same.
So now you have two controls. You have a control at home and the SV.
Yes, but control of home is always more important, I guess.
Absolutely, 100%. I completely agree. In the context of our changing environmental conditions and societal preferences, how do you foresee the German Shepherd breed adapting, and what role and responsibility does breeding and our club play in this adaptation? We just recently saw the Austrian club trying to ban all bite sports, or on their way to ban all bite sports. And I don't like the label bite sports, because there's like literally 3 bites in the entire IPO routine. So 95% of it is obedience. So to call it a quote unquote bite sport makes it look belligerent, in my opinion, which it's just not true. It's not just biting. It's most of it is control, and when not to bite, and controlling the opposition or the opponent or the person you've apprehended, the helpers in this case. Where do you foresee us in the next 10, 20 years?
This is is a difficult question. Of course, I can only talk about the German situation.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know how the regulations is, for example, in the
Sure.
United States. In Germany, we need to face the problem that the law protecting animals is getting is pushing towards a stricter watch for the animals. Let's say it that way. We need to find ways to train our dogs with on a more on a level that is more on partnership than on pressure, because this is something the people are looking at. I'm in the sport for 40 years now, so I've seen how dogs get treated or got treated, and I'm pretty sure some things we are having the discussion right now is the result of the ignorance we had towards treating dogs in the past. This doesn't make it easier for us in the sport, for us in breed. Of course not. But we need to find the dialogue to the people who create these laws. And that's something, this cannot be the responsibility of SV. This has, in Germany, we have the VDH. That's the main organization of all the breed organizations. All the dog breeds, they need to talk to the government to say, okay, we see what your point is, but you must not forget our point. Because what we are doing is responsible, with responsible treatment of the dogs. We know that we need to work on certain points, but not everything we are doing is bad. And I have the impression that somehow this exchange of opinions didn't happen before the stricter law was installed. And if we don't get into that door again, we are just sitting on the wave, not knowing when it will drop. And that's my problem with the whole discussion. That we are, even the SV is in Germany a small organization. We don't have a lobby, but the whole crowd of dog breed could have a huge lobby, because it's a huge market for industry, that dog food and the supplements and everything, that's a huge economic power.
Absolutely.
And in my opinion, they are not using that power in the way to get things a little more straight.
Yes.
And if they don't get into this discussion again, in 10, 20 years, what we are doing will not be possible anymore.
So do you think it could be a part of the problem is us not being able to educate people about what we do? because it's all common perception, right? Everything is made from perception. We see somebody walking towards us on the street, and we make the decision, is this person safe enough for me to walk past this person, or do I need to change my direction? For example, are we that person that the normal people see us and they say, oh, I better change my direction. These are not good people, or these are this way or that way, or whatever it might be. Is the onus a little bit on us to not educate the people?
Well, I could say this question coming from somebody living in the USA is sounds a little strange, because I think there are a lot of people that still change the side of the street when certain other peoples keep passing
that's
through
why
them.
I said it. That's why I used that example.
Yeah. It's not about educating the people, because the people only want to learn what they want, or they do only learn what they want to learn.
Sure.
They have a certain information in mind, and they stick to it. That's mankind.
It's a product of our evolution.
Yeah, sadly. Flexibility and accepting that something is different and something can be different than I had it made up in my mind, that's something that's not very common. So it's not about education. It's about pushing the right buttons where the people are that have the power to change things. We don't need the common sense is there. And it's not the majority that thinks, for example, German Shepherds are evil. It's not the majority that thinks doing dog sports is bad thing.
Yes.
The majority doesn't even care about it.
No, they have no opinion one way or another. It's always that small minority that's so loud, and it's always in the right places, pushing the right buttons against us is the problem.
And if we don't make it to these, that we don't get in the ears of the people that decide what will go on with sports and breed and everything, then dog sports will be over.
Ooh, that's bleak.
Yeah, I'm no dreamer. When you look at the discussion in Germany right now, when it comes to dog shows, for other races too, this race is banned, this race is banned. It's the result of how the market wanted these dogs. Yeah, French bulldogs.
Yeah.
No nose, big eyes. Super.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now
people are paying $8,000 to $10,000 for these dogs in the United States for a puppy.
And now they are facing the fact that the breed gets banned from every show or anything.
Yeah.
But what do they say? I don't care.
Right.
So
it's always the unscrupulous people that are always making the money, that are promoting that type of dogs. There is still a breed standard for the French Bulldog, and that existed many, many years ago, just like it did for German Shepherds. And the standard hasn't changed, but the dogs have drastically changed.
Yeah. And that's the thing that they also say about the German Shepherds. And at a certain point, they are right. And it's our responsibility to get at least back to the line. We already crossed that line probably, but to at least get back to the line where we can say our dogs are okay.
Absolutely. I mean, in anecdotal evidence, it's like I know my dogs that are around children all the time, other animals all the time, that are normal dogs. I know your dogs are around your children all the time, and they're out about in public all the time. They're getting various stimuli, and they live long, healthy lives, productive lives as members of society, so to speak. And they participate in our hobby as well. And there's no problems there. But then you always hear about the dogs that are biting children in the faces, or that are, just getting a bad rap in general with health and this and that. And of course, it's a product of popularity. Of course, I admit that. But I don't know why I feel that we could be doing more to educate, or to put out more material to educate people, it's at least in the United States, where I'm not sure about Germany because I don't live there, but at least in the United States, that we have more, local outreach, that people know what we're doing with our dogs.
It's a it's a marketing problem.
Yes, absolutely.
We even our last president, he was only pointing out the bad parts of the dogs. He was not able to point out the good things. He was not able to promote what is good about the dogs. He kept only yelling about what went wrong in the last decades or so. Of course, he couldn't change anything, but yelling about it is not the right thing. If we want to do a good marketing, then you need to point out for the public what we are doing right, what we have accomplished, what we are
absolutely
doing better than all the rest, what we are already achieved. So this is something a good marketing would do.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's missing.
That is definitely missing. It's just to talk about a statistic of, the misnomer about the hip health of the breed. What turns out, German Shepherds have some of the best hip health as compared to a lot of other breeds.
Yeah.
We spoke about the bite incidents. Only every time you see a graphic of a dog biting, you'll see a German Shepherd showing its teeth. Well, it turns out the German Shepherds, by average, are not the highest bite breeds. It's smaller breeds that you wouldn't even suspect to be biting breeds are the ones that have higher bite incidents and really bad bite incidents compared to the German Shepherds.
It's like the white shark.
Right. Most of the attacks are by bull sharks. Nobody talks about bull sharks because they're not sexy. So every time we have a white shark photo right there.
Yeah, but even there is so few number of shark attacks. But
6 annually, maybe.
Yeah, but a shark attack is the worst nightmare. Everybody, if you watch to the ocean or go to the ocean, a shark. So that's the deepest nightmare everybody has, a shark attack. But getting run over by a hippo in Africa is way more common than getting attacked by a shark in the ocean.
That's true. Absolutely. No, you're 100% right. And that's, again, perception. Jaws did very effective marketing. The movie Jaws did very effective marketing against great white sharks.
Yeah.
And there's still a villain in the oceans.
Yeah, and that's what's missing. It's not only missing in the German Shepherd world. It's missing in the whole breed world, where the people do responsible jobs by breeding dogs according to the standard.
Yeah.
If the problem with health and everything that doesn't, the French bulldogs, for example, it doesn't.
Yep.
It's not the breeders that follow the rules, that follow the standards. It's the other one. They don't do it in a club. They don't do it with a breed standard. They just do it for the money or whatever because it looks nice. And this is missing, that the high quality standards we as dog breeders need to bring, that we can register our dogs in the breed book. Not only German Shepherds, all the others too. And that's missing by FCI and so on. they are not working to point out how important the breed under a breed standard, under a breed committee is, and how those people, the responsible breeders, do a good work.
I'll give you a personalized anecdote again, because that's all I can offer at this point. Is I was at my vet for a progesterone a few years back, and there was a golden doodle breeder with a $120,000 SUV, and I was just curious, so I asked the lady how many, how much does a puppy cost, and she's like, oh, I don't have any puppies for sale at the moment, and she was there with 2 or 3 females for a progesterone test. I said, oh, you've got these females. I'm just curious, what does it take to get a puppy from you? She says she has a year-long waiting list, and the puppies are $6,000 per puppy. No health testing. There's no standard. You can't predict what the temperament's going to be like.
Yep.
You can't tell if the dog's going to be hypoallergenic or not, which is the number one sales technique for these dogs, so they don't have any allergies or they don't shed, whatever. Could completely take after the golden retriever, not the poodle part, and could be shedding like crazy all the time. So there's no regulation there. And where we have the Shepherd Club, we've got to do hips and elbows. We've got to make sure the teeth are there. Temperaments need to be standardized. Working titles need to be obtained. The dog must pass a certain look or type criteria in the breed show. The dog must get a breed survey. With all these checks and balances, and we're not able to popularize this with all the pressure we put on our breeders to do the right thing or to do these steps to make sure we breed the right dogs. And of course, fails happen. It's not perfect. No system is perfect. Of course, genetics are what genetics are, and sometimes you don't get desirable dogs. That's breeding. That's animal husbandry anywhere and everywhere. That happens. Yep. But we've certainly fallen behind despite doing all these things. If you're doing it in a dark room where nobody can see, then what's the point of it?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm missing a strategy of the big organizations that are representing the breed, and this is FCI.
Yes,
telling the public that only breeders within the FCI following the rules, that this can at least have some guarantee that it's at least checked. Of course, nothing is perfect. Nothing will be ever perfect because it's
absolutely
nature.
100%.
But there is a difference between backyard breeding and breeding under supervision of a breed club, and this is just not pointed out that right way.
Absolutely. And what do you think we could? What if you had some suggestions? What suggestions would you give to remedy that, or rectify that, or push that in the right direction?
Well, I'm no marketing expert, but definitely I would point out the hard work the breeders do, the high standards the breeders need to follow, all that's recommended before a dog is able to go into breed, just to tell the people what tests or what evaluation we do before a puppy out of a responsible breeder is on the market has to be done.
Absolutely. And I think German Shepherds are on the top of the mountain as far as I'm concerned, because I've never seen this type of rigorous checks and balances system than any other breed.
Yeah.
That's why we have so much, we fret the nuances so much. Oh, the croup could be a little bit longer, or the upper arm could be better angled, or the ears could be positioned this way or that way. Within the breed, or the hips are A2 or fast normal versus A normal, or could be from the working side. Oh, the dog only made 91 points in the bite work. He was not 99 points, for instance. or the obedience was only 84 points. Why was it not 95 points? Where was the dog missing? So we get lost in these minute details.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at the bigger picture. It's like we're always, or the 3-3 breeding rule, for instance, it's like we're always looking to stumble on the next rock instead of looking what's around the corner.
Yeah, and of course, with our breed, we are all only we intend to only look at the highest possible result.
Absolutely.
We are only looking if that combination could that be VA.
Yep.
Could
The next
that be,
figure.
yeah, that's what we are looking for. We are not thinking of will the litter have 6V quality dogs in it?
Absolutely.
No, it's if when you talk to 10 breeders and you would say, I have the choice, you get a litter out of with 10 puppies, and you can choose either 10 will go V,
Yeah,
or 1 will go VA, and the
Yeah,
other
every
one
time they
will
choose the VA.
will be bad. Which one will they pick? They all
every time.
99% will pick the one VA instead of the litter with 10V.
No, I agree with you. It's unfortunate, but that is the truth. And then we negatively impact the entire population of the breed.
Yeah.
And it's always thank you so much for your time. It's always so enlightening, sometimes a little bit frightening to get a reality check when I speak with you. And it's you start reflecting in the mirror a little bit. It's like what's going on, what's not going on. So to summarize, what given the impact of the Seeger Show on the worldwide level, everybody's every German Shepherd enthusiast drops everything and is watching the Seeger Show for those 3 days, and there's speculations on the internet. It's like a whole thing, like it's a ritual every single year that people all around the world drop everything to either come to Germany or watch it on their phones or TVs or whatever the live streams now, or to participate. But it's an event in every German Shepherd household that is involved religiously every single year. Even if they're not showing or they're not connected to any dog, they feel like they're vested in it. It's like a giant sports event for us. So, and the biggest one at that, I think, for a single breed anywhere in the world. So what message would you have for your exhibitors that will be presenting under you? The big breeders with big breeding populations that are going to bring to the show that have, multiple dogs in the class, or even the small guy with one dog here and there every couple of years that he's able to put together to present at the biggest stage in the world. And the ones that are coming to especially show under you, what message would you have for them? And the message for the exhibitors all around the world, or the viewers all around the world.
Yeah, the message for the viewers around the world should be, if we are able to set the standards that the world is following the lead of Germany, again with the things we need to get rid of, then the goal is reached.
And what message would you have for your exhibitors that are coming to show under you?
Get there well prepared.
That's great. Sir, it's always an honor for me to talk to you, and I thank you again so much for sparing your valuable and precious time away from your family to talk to me and the people on the internet.
It's always a pleasure to meet you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope nobody is bored again.
Well, that's their loss if they can't find value in this.
All right. Take care and goodbye, and hope to see you soon.
Thanks very much, sir.